Hi, I'm Wren.
I'm Angeline.
And I'm Nameera.
And this is Operation Tomatometer.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of Operation Tomatometer, Townsend Harris's very own film and TV review podcast.
So, if you haven't been researching cutting-edge technology for diabetes, then you know about the news documentary, Human Trial.
It's directed, produced, and written by couple Lisa Hepner and Guy Mossman. The Human Trial is a documentary about a cutting-edge stem cell treatment for type 1 diabetes. Following a clinical trial, the film gives an unprecedented glimpse into the future of type 1 diabetes. The Human Trial illuminates the struggles of diabetics while exploring an innovative new treatment option.
Now let's jump into the episode.
I think overall, the documentary did hone in like traditional cinematic aspects with the whole handheld motion and with various kind of like not confessional, but like private conversations with the camera. I did, however, like I think there was an even greater use of voiceovers than I've seen in previous documentaries, like The Youth Governor, which added to an interesting aspect because, especially when we got like the titles and we got like the credits at the very beginning, I liked how it transitioned from almost like a black and white, I guess like historical recap to like even more like modern like research and medical like efforts with the coronavirus. Like that's how it transitioned into it and then went into like the actual film, which I really appreciated.
That was good editing. I liked that.
Yeah. And I think it's just also just worth the watch to learn about like everything that's happening with like diabetics these days. And especially with we see like the insulin prices, how they're still like skyrocketing in America today. It's really important to know about these things. I think it's really important to watch this film because I think it brings attention to the overcharge, the extortionate price of insulin in America today, and how Big Pharma, they just profit off of people who need insulin to live. They stress in this documentary much that like they need this medication to function, and yet we're charging like, you know, like crazy like amounts.
Yeah, I think it also relates to like what's going on in daily life right now, where at least like during quarantine everyone was like, when's the vaccine coming out? Like it took a whole year, and this is why. Like the trials take such a long time, and I didn't know everything that went into it.
I think like this documentary does a really good job of also providing a social commentaries, like what you were saying, and I think it was just very interesting because it was almost humanized. Like we're seeing someone who's trying to get that technology, who's trying to like pine after it, and we see kind of like their perspective rather than just like the process of making it and whatnot. It's a good kind of mix of both.
One specific scene of this documentary depicts Greg Romero, a participant in the trial who was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the young age of 1. He wistfully talks about his daughter and their future together as a family. In this scene, he shares his worries about possibly not being able to be present for his daughter's growth and abandoning her, showing the emotional and mental toll that not only this trial has taken on the participants, but also just living with diabetes in general. Like, do you feel that the level of emotionality was embedded in this film in a way to appeal to views? Like, how do you feel about that?
I think it had to be embedded in this film. Like, diabetes, I think a lot of people overlook the severity of diabetes and how much people with the disease have to go through. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to spread awareness. Pathos is very important. I know, but I think it is. I think it's a very effective way to communicate to people.
Something that also was really effective was also, I liked how we had like this kind of moment where we're kind of being introduced to diabetes, and we have like our like main person drawing it out, but we also cut to the actual like frame of the person drawing it itself. Like we see what's on the actual drawing and like the board, I mean not the board, I think it's like a piece of paper. And I think having that kind of cut shows that like this is a person who's being affected by diabetes and is trying to explain it to everyone.
Passion project.
Exactly. We're seeing how that's brought into a new light rather than like a scientist or something else extraneous explaining it. It's very personal.
Yeah, intimate. Definitely a feeling of intimacy with this film.
Something else that did stand out was sometimes we did break, I feel like we broke the fourth wall, and we had like our main person talking to someone who's behind the camera, especially at the beginning, where like, oh, you didn't tell me that like this was going to affect, like, I think it was their limbs or their legs. And I think that kind of brought us out of it and saw like this again is real. They're the real people dealing with the severe consequences of diabetes.
The aspect of like making sure they mention that the first person, I don't remember her name, was the first one, and that they're not gonna be sure if it works. I think that was really important to the story.
Yeah, like everything was
Riskiness.
riding on that
Yeah,
one trial. Like she was talking about how much it meant to her that she was the first person that, you know, was ever gonna experience this trial, and how it could change like millions of lives, and how like, I don't know, just all that, like I hate that I'm like rationalizing this so much into as if it was like a movie, but that built like a lot of suspense. It kept me like, you know, nervous watching.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, like you become even more invested considering like the first scene has her like
Her son.
her son's there,
my
like he's so
God.
young,
Yeah.
and he's kind of also trying to understand what's happening to his mother, diabetes, and we also see like different scenes with the dog as well.
Ah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It made it feel like really personal again, that intimate feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's go into reviews now. Okay, we have to rate this as a documentary. Like we can't compare it to like Thor.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. You are correct about that one.
I think like with all that it does, I feel like my 2 cents don't really matter, because I think I'm pretty bad at like rating documentaries, because I'm not too, you know, particular to them, but I'd say I give this film a solid 85.
I'm
okay with 85 though. It's like,
I think 15% isn't because like it's a bad documentary. It's because
No.
I don't like documentaries as like a cinematography, like, you know, and that kind of just
yeah, you have to be into it. Like you have to be like interested in the topic for this movie to appeal to you, but even if you're not, it's still interesting. But I think
it tells
to give it
tells a
above
story.
a 90 or above an 85,
I don't think we've gone above 90 ever, and I feel like this film doesn't stand out enough to me.
I would honestly say like my baseline review for this film would be like a 70.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of points worked. I just don't think it'll be something that I will come back to as much as I do for these like I constantly am like, oh yeah, that was like a really good documentary.
But I do think what makes me bring it up is like the fact that like I think people should watch it.
Yeah,
Like I
like,
think this is a good watch.
now
like,
you know
need
what
to
goes
watch
into
it.
someone who has diabetes.
Yeah, I think
like
it's
what
good
they
to
go
watch.
through.
Yeah, it's something like, you know, if you have free time, like, you know.
And like I remember that stuff from
Like, we
watching
remember-
it in the movie, so it stuck with me. But
this is definitely a once thing time.
Yeah.
Thing. Like, I wouldn't go back to it.
so I agree with 85.
I'm sticking with 70.
Okay, so
So-
we can average it out
What
to
is
an 83.
That's the quick math on
82?
that?
No.
That's not.
Um,
no,
70
it's
plus
like 78.
70 plus 85 divided by 3.
Someone?
Guys, you guys are all in like taking advanced mathematics.
Not me.
Not me.
I'm taking comp
Girl,
sci.
don't look at me. I'll have the worst of it.
What is 80?
80?
That doesn't make sense. 70 to 85 is not 80.
70 plus
85, 70.
Oh,
Divided
I
by
forgot
3.
my score.
85
I was
plus
just doing
85
it
plus 70
Yeah,
is
divided by-
240.
Divided by 3.
Divided by 3 is 80.
Oh.
Wow!
I was just taking these two.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm always right, guys. Anyways,
That's yourself.
we figured it out, guys. We did math. Woo! Well, they're figuring out how to like cure diabetes with like, you know, stem cell treatment. We figured out how to do
Artificial
that.
pancreas.
Woo!
So thank you so much, Giant Pictures.
Thank you so much for allowing us to get early access screening to this film. It was very eye-opening, and we're so glad that we're able to spread the message to our peers here at Chen Harris.
We appreciate it.
We learned a lot more about diabetes than even I knew. It was really great to learn a little bit more about diabetes, especially because a lot of people in my family are affected with it.
That about wraps up today's episode. Stay tuned for more tomatastic content from Operation Tomatometer on Apple Podcasts, and check out The Classic and The Classic Critic on Instagram and TikTok page at Townsend Harris Classic to see our bloopers, behind the scenes, and other cool projects we are working on.
Let us know in the comments what you thought, and have a great weekend.
See you next time.